There are nights on call that feel like they were pulled straight out of a horror movie, but others feel like they were written by a comedy screenwriter on too much caffeine. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of a patient who walked into the ER claiming that something inside him was vibrating. Yes, vibrating. And no, I'm not talking about poetry or some transcendental meditation retreat. I mean actual mechanical vibrations, the kind you'd expect from a cell phone or a TV remote. What at first looked like a complex medical case turned into one of the most surreal and hilarious situations I've ever lived through. On a night shift. It was midnight, and the hospital was in that strange balance between chaos and silence, that eerie moment when the hallways feel deserted, but deep down you know disaster could erupt at any second. The ER smelled like disinfectant mixed with reheated coffee, that classic scent permanently embedded in the DNA of every doctor on call. We'd had it all. 2 car accidents with more blood than anyone should see on a so-called quiet night. A suspected appendicitis still up for debate because the symptoms didn't bother to match the textbook, and a patient with chest pain convinced he was dying, who, in the end, was just dealing with reflux after inhaling half a family-sized pizza. I was exhausted, slumped in front of my cup of cold coffee. The cup that had once promised salvation but now looked more like abandoned motor oil. I was about to take a sip out of sheer habit when the doors swung open. In came a man in his 40s, sweating, wide-eyed, clutching his stomach like he'd seen a ghost. He nearly stumbled as he rushed forward, one hand gripping his abdomen. Doctor, I need help. Something inside me is vibrating." I just stared at him. With that perfect mix of shock and midnight fatigue only a night shift can provide. Inside my head, the thought echoed, "Vibrating? Seriously? Not the usual, 'I've got pain here' or 'I can't breathe'? No. Vibrating. As if there was a blender installed somewhere in his gut. At first, I thought he was exaggerating, anxiety, maybe a panic attack, but the look in his eyes was desperate, terrified, too real to brush off as a joke. I guided him to a gurney, sat him down, pulled out my notepad, and with the calmest voice I could muster, started the routine questions. "Where exactly do you feel the vibration?" He pointed just below his belly button and said, dead serious, "Here, in my abdomen," like I've got a phone on vibrate inside me. He was so convincing that, for just a moment, I actually considered the wildest diagnoses. Could it be some weird abdominal arrhythmia? A localized neurological tremor? A rare syndrome that would end up in a medical conference PowerPoint? Before my imagination could spiral further, I heard a stifled cough behind me. My fellow residents were trying their best not to laugh. Their eyes screamed, "I cannot believe I just heard that," mixed with, "If I laugh out loud, I'm done for." Meanwhile, my professional mask was holding, but inside my head, my brain was screaming, "This guy swallowed a Nokia 3310 and the damn thing still works." We laid him flat on the bed for a proper exam. My plan was simple. Prove it was just nerves. Calm him down, send him home, easy. But then, something unexpected happened. The moment I pressed my hand to his abdomen, I felt it, a vibration, a real one, not suggestion, not imagination. A steady buzz, rhythmic, impossible to ignore. My eyes flew open. For a split second, my mind screamed, "Holy crap! This is not a joke!" I looked at my colleagues, same reaction. One raised his eyebrows like he'd just seen a UFO. The nurse, who had 20 years of ER under her belt and always said, "Nothing surprises me anymore," gave me a look that clearly meant, "Okay, this does surprise me." The whole mood shifted. We went from holding back laughter to actual concern. Because it's one thing when a patient says he's vibrating inside, it's a whole different story when you can feel it too. The air grew heavy. It felt like we were in the middle of some low-budget sci-fi flick. And for the first time that night, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what the hell was inside that abdomen. The theories started flying. One resident whispered, "Maybe it's a fistula with trapped air." Another, more dramatic, muttered, "What if it's a giant parasite?" Meanwhile, all I could think was, this sounds exactly like a phone on silent, but of course I couldn't say that out loud. We ordered an abdominal ultrasound. While prepping, the buzzing continued. The poor guy writhed on the bed like he had an insect crawling inside him, pale, sweating, breath quick and shallow. "Doctor, I swear something's moving in there, like it has a life of its own." He sounded half terrified, half ashamed, like he was confessing to having a ghost squatting in his stomach. I took a deep breath, telling myself, "Stay calm. Don't laugh. This could be serious, even if it feels like a lost episode of House mixed with a bad 90s sitcom." In the ultrasound room, the tech was all business, just another day at the office. But when he placed the cold gel and pressed the transducer, his brow furrowed. That universal doctor face that means, "Okay, something's weird here." And then it happened. Click, a sharp mechanical snap. The vibration stopped. Dead silence. The buzzing, the main character of the whole scene, just vanished. The room froze. Nobody moved. The patient's eyes went wide, and he whispered, "It turned off." I clenched my jaw to hold back a laugh. Inside, I was screaming, "Fantastic! Not only do we have vibrations, now we've got power outages inside the human body." Next stop, X-ray. The walk down to radiology was pure awkwardness. The man held his abdomen like he was carrying a secret bomb, and the rest of us tried desperately to act like this was just normal. But let's be real, nobody brings a patient to X-ray because something's vibrating inside. When the machine whirred and the film developed, there it was, a clear silhouette, rectangular, rounded edges, way too familiar. I swallowed hard, kept my voice steady, and said, "Sir, what you have in your abdomen appears to be a remote control." Silence. One of those painfully long silences that lasts maybe 2 seconds, but feels eternal. And then laughter. It started as a stifled giggle from a resident. Then the radiology tech burst out, laughing so hard he nearly fell off his chair. Within seconds, the whole room was shaking. This time from laughter. Not internal vibrations. The patient, red as a tomato, buried his face in his hands and stammered, "Dr. I was watching TV and, well, it was an accident. An accident, sure, because every day, people just accidentally end up with a remote control there." The best part came after. With total resignation, the man sighed and said, "The worst part isn't that this happened, the worst part is that now I can't change the channel." That was it. Any attempt at professionalism collapsed. Even the nurse, the one who never flinched at blood on the ceiling, bent over, laughing so hard she had to lean on the wall for support. I tried to resist. Really, I did. But it was hopeless. That line stuck with me forever. The worst part isn't the remote inside me. It's that I can't change the channel. It turned the whole scene into a circus. And all I could think was, if I ever tell this story, nobody's going to believe me. Guess I'll save it for a podcast. We took him to the OR, removed the remote intact, though nobody volunteered to touch it afterward. He went home fine. With the usual medical advice and the very clear unspoken one, we were all thinking, please, use the remote only for the TV. That night, I learned something important. Medicine isn't just about fighting serious diseases or saving lives. Sometimes, we witness the most absurd situations the human mind or body can produce. And honestly, those are the ones that stay with us the most. Because between life or death emergencies and crushing fatigue, finding a patient literally vibrating from a remote control inside him, that's a gift. So if you ever feel like life is shaking inside you, remember, it could be stress, it could be anxiety, or with a little bad luck, maybe you just lost control literally. And that's how this night ended a guard shift that reminded us reality will always outdo fiction. All right, that's it for today. I'm going to check the couch now just in case the remote control from the medical restroom is missing. If this story made you laugh, smash that like button, subscribe for more night shift madness, and tell me your strangest story down in the comments. Trust me, in this channel there's always room for the absurd, and your story might be the next one we tell. The next story could be yours.